What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Folks, I'm Cheds. This is part of the long form interview series on my YouTube channel at Cheds Trading. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at Big Cheds and Bitcoin Live, where I'm a founding analyst. So, folks, we have a great guest today, Mr. Jason Pizzno. He's a very accomplished trader, investor, educator. He's been doing this a long time. Here is his Twitter page, his X page. Here is his YouTube page. And here's like his link tree where you can see all of the links. I'll have those included in the video description. But folks, this is an opportunity for me on the long form interview series to bring some really interesting people to sit down and talk to them and find out different ways to look at the market, to share ideas and just to continue to add value. So thank you for being here for this. Just a quick reminder, I have a brand new playlist. While you're here, the Trading Encyclopedia playlist, 3 minutes a day. I'm teaching professional technical analysis, classical charting, and Japanese candlestick theory. Brand new video every day. I've got more than 150 recorded already, so go ahead and check that out. But without further ado, let's get to our guest, Mr. Pizzino. So, folks, thank you for being here.
Having me?
Yeah, so people following me may or may not know who you are. You're definitely prolific. You're on YouTube, you're on Twitter. I thought you were just a YouTube guy because someone said to me, hey, you gotta, do a podcast with this guy. And I checked out on Twitter and you've got a lot of just clean charts. You're talking about fundamentals. So you're actually putting out a lot of content.
I try to keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
You just want to keep it a little bit broad, a little bit clean, a little bit simple, because like, with trading, it's mostly simple things, but it's a lot of simple things if you're building that into your plan. And sometimes it can, you've been doing it for so many years, it can just get a little bit too involved for some. So it's just nice to keep it simple, keep it broad. And then I just follow like longer term stuff. So my theory for my long-term investing, which is essentially my long-term position swing trades, is based on the 18-year real estate and economic cycle. That's the US real estate and economic cycle. Of course, I'm in Australia, but the US leads the world. So if you're not following that, I think you're sort of missing out. Obviously, as I said, I'm in Australia, and our real estate market basically follows the US to a T. We're just 6 to 12 months behind. So if you can see what's going on over there, you've got a bit of a leg up over here.
Wow. So I saw your tweet about like an 18-year cycle for Bitcoin. I thought you were kind of messing around there because, people are familiar with the typical 4-year cycle. What does that mean, the 18-year cycle?
Yeah. So it's 18-year US real estate. You guys referencing them as home prices. So US home prices and economic cycle. So basically like the business cycle. So this is Bitcoin's first 18-year cycle that it's going through. The 18-year cycle began roughly around 2011, 2012. That was the bottom of the US home prices and business cycle, economic cycle. And then you basically count roughly 14 years up from that point. So the markets go up. Stock markets, the real estate market is what we're looking at, but the stock markets obviously follow suit. And then the big correction happens around that time. For the stock market, can last 18 months, sometimes a little longer, but it's typically longer than 12 months at the end of that move. With the 18-year cycle, where that comes in is the 4 years down for home prices and the economy. Sometimes it's a bit longer, sometimes it's slightly shorter, but it's roughly around that period. Whereas when you're following it all the way up, like we've seen with the stock markets and the economy, out of that low of around 2011, 2012, there's a call for a recession like every year. Yeah. But there's no reason for there to be a recession. Sure, we had the COVID dump, but that was like a month and then it was back on. So it's basically up and up and up and up until we get to the end, and then it's down for a long time. But by the time we get to the ups, as we know with trading, everyone thinks, oh, we got past all of these problems in the past. Right. It's only going to be a short dip again. And that's usually where it catches people out, and it just keeps dipping and dipping for years. Like 2007 into 2009, people only reference 2008. There was the 1990 recession. The low there was around 1992 for the US home prices. And then we can keep going back. That's what the 18-year cycle is about. And it goes back around 200 years, referencing all of the data through the US home prices going back to around 1800. And you can go back further in the UK as well.
So how does this all relate to Bitcoin? Help me understand this. Do you think we're
Right.
headed towards kind of a parabolic blow off here and then that type of a drop? Because it's been in kind of a steady grind, right, on Bitcoin.
And yeah, exactly. So the obviously with that cycle going up, we've
Hmm.
got no reason to believe that asset prices are going to come down. Bitcoin, obviously, first cycle, pretty simply put, it should be continuing up. I don't know if it's going to peak at the same time. Like, I don't expect all these cycles to peak at exactly the same time.
Right.
But because the 18-year cycle hasn't come to a peak yet, I would
Hmm.
still expect Bitcoin to keep going up. And then you could layer on anything else within that. You've got commodity cycles, you've got the money supply cycles, you've got interest rate cycles. So there's not really any reason yet to suggest it would come down for some sort of significant collapse or multi-year bear market is the easiest way to look at it. I think that's the next one.
So are you more of like a fundamental analyst? You're definitely hearing a lot of that, but I've seen good TA out of you as well. So, how would you describe your style?
I'm I have shifted a little more to understanding the cycle analysis, which to understand it, I guess you got to understand a little bit of the fundamentals. But yeah, TA is the big one for me. That's where I started. So seeing the breakout patterns, really simple long-term stuff, long-term accumulation. We're using the last Bitcoin cycle as an example. The lows we had in 2022, early 2023, like Q1, it was
Hmm.
just consolidation and then a breakout. And so using the 18-year cycle, prices are still going higher, is my theory. Therefore, if Bitcoin's showing signs of consolidation at lows, I suspect it's going to break out and it should be another bull market. So that's how I was able to position at that time. As we get towards the end, that's where I find it much more difficult. I find trying to pick tops, not that we're trying to pick tops in the game. I just think tops are way more difficult than lows. I don't know what you found in your experience.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think tops are harder to spot because, I mean, especially we're talking about these assets, which are secular uptrends, and it makes sense for them to continue up, and it feels like the bottom should be temporary because you're rejoining that longer term trend, right? Like even with Bitcoin, topping off at the double top in 2021, the 64 and the 69K, and the kind of drop back towards 12K, people were looking for the bottom before the next, big move up. So it feels like the bottoms are temporary because we know these are just long-term, rising assets. And when it's at the top, you think, well, I'm sure there's a little more to go. Oh, I'm sure there's a little bit more to go. And that's why people end up taking almost like no profit, after going even like, 18K, December 2022 until now.
Yeah, and I think the timing in terms of cycles helps. At least it's from my experience, of course. If you've got a bit of a timing gauge, like a bear market shouldn't necessarily go more than 12 months for Bitcoin. Otherwise, we're going to move into a multi-year bear market. So
Hmm.
if we did get like a 12 months or longer down, that next move higher might just be a macro lower high before it continues lower. We've only seen 12 months, and then 2014 was about 14 months. That took like 8 months consolidation. So basically, long story short, just overlaying those cycles upon each other, you should get a bit of an idea where those lows should come in, and then watch the thing take off from that point. As you said, at least start to take some profit, even if you don't catch the top. I don't care. My saying is always just take a chunk out of the middle.
It's so hard to do that. It's so hard to, I mean, you want to pay yourself for a good idea, right? But you don't want to second guess and leave money on the table. What are some of the things you've done kind of in your own approach? You talked about how you like a simple approach now. I assume in your earlier years, it wasn't quite as simple. You probably tried many different things to get to where you are now. What are some of the ways that you kind of keep yourself on track and take a little profit and just keep steady?
Taking a little profit, I try to have somewhere else for that money to go,
Mm,
because the second the 2 cycles ago, so 2017, you're
yeah,
making profits, but you round trip it because you're like, well, USDT, you couldn't put it there. It was going to
yeah,
collapse. That's what in the early days, right?
yeah.
The rest of the cash, where are you going to put it? Because, well, Bitcoin's the best thing, or cryptos are the best thing, or some sort of ICO at the time is the best thing. So what I found after these cycles is I need the money to go somewhere else. I have a purpose for it. Because if I don't have
Mm,
a purpose for it, the market will have its own purpose.
So
I mean, for me, it's real estate.
Yeah, it's
Real
real estate.
estate and
Okay.
cash. Yeah.
Interesting. So, is this like a local thing for like out in Australia when you're doing your real estate, or you like in other countries, or how are you approaching that?
No, just predominantly Australia, like 95% Australia. I've looked at things overseas. I have minor stuff, but I wouldn't even include that. It's not worth, for me, it's not worth the time. Australia, especially my region, has been doing very, very well. And I mean, Southeast Queensland, I think you got the Olympic Games in 2028 in the US. We got the next ones in 2032. So there's still a lot of hype around that. There's a lot of people moving here. It's the best lifestyle. You know, I talked to you offline about going surfing and fishing and outdoor lifestyle with a city life. Like you just really can't beat it.
So how are you balancing that all? Because you're working hard, man. I see you on YouTube, you see you on Twitter, and then you're telling me about all these surfing adventures. How are you fitting it all in one day?
I got rid of the TV. That was a long time ago. So it's like all the little things that you don't like. Are they adding to your life? And then if they're not, I get rid of it because I'm like, I got a bit more into the stoicism. I've only got so many days left on this world, even though, you know, I'm not even 40 yet. I'll be 40 soon, but not 40 yet. But that sort of started to play on my mind over the last few years. And I'm like, I've only got this much time left. Then why am I wasting it on everything else? You know, so my days is like gym. I love food. I love moving my body. I love spending time with family, and I love growing my mind and the charts and and investing and trading and business. That all feels good in my mind. So I like to keep doing it and keep growing with it.
So I love it.
Does that help explain how do I fit it into a day?
Yeah, I mean, you've got curiosity, you've got interest.
True.
And all that good stuff. You were talking about real estate. What do you think about the whole the metaverse, like people buying real estate in the metaverse and that craze?
Is that still a thing this cycle? I remember last cycle was pretty big.
I know it's big last cycle. I thought it was kind of crazy, man. But for almost a moment in time, I had to ask myself, maybe is there something here? Okay, no. But it was just, you know, it's funny to see these manias. Do you think we're going to see some of that now? Like, it looks like Ethereum is reversing versus Bitcoin, right? So therefore, other things are possible, right?
I think so. Like, if you're talking about some other sort of narrative that catches fire and we
further
take off
derivative stuff down the way, since if there's been some kind of turning of the corner, perhaps, you know, we saw some of that craziness at the end of 2021, you know, when Ethereum started to take over, and
it seems like it wouldn't be a complete cycle unless we did get something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've gone, what, 2.5 years since the low, just over, coming up to 3 years now since the Bitcoin low. I mean, if there's not, and it's just ETH going up and just, you know, XRP hit a new all-time high, Sol just made a new all-time high this cycle, you know, BNB's a new all-time high. Maybe it is just a Bitcoin cycle. Like, you know, who knows at the end of the day? All we've heard about is why gaming should have been there and AI, crypto should have been there, and they had their run as well. So yeah, I think I'm probably one of the last people that knows anything about narratives when it comes to crypto. I'm just sort of play the majors, I'm patient, and I just make it simple. That's how I've survived this whole time. Trying to like jump on the next narrative, I just leave that for the altcoin influencers.
I think we're pretty much on the same page. You know, when I do some of these spaces, when these people are talking, I think I just feel old. Because I tend to focus on you know, the top stuff that's on major exchanges that's been around, and it's interesting to see, you know, so when Ethereum takes over, Bitcoin can run with it right now. So maybe Bitcoin just runs with Ethereum, because Ethereum now has all this institutional buying, and some other stuff does okay, but not everything. I think it's easy for, you know, traders to think, well, if Ethereum's running, then I can play Filecoin or I can play DOT. I can play some of these weaker participants. And would you say that you really need to be a little bit more selective and make sure you're focusing on relative strength? Is that kind of how you approach it?
Totally. Yeah, I've stood by that for a long time. Just the strength, especially versus Bitcoin, where they're at with their all-time highs. Sure, I'm missing out on whatever 3-5x altcoin is out there, but you know from your own experience, whenever these guys talk about their 3 or their 5x, there's going to be 10 other coins that didn't make it. So when they average it out, what were they actually up? 100, 200%? And then when you look at Bitcoin, it's done 700%. ETH has done 400, I think, by this stage. It's a bit more now. So it's like, you just take one strategy. You have to be there every single day, wasting every minute of your life to try and make a 3 to 5x. Some will say they made a 10x, but then they lose it all on some other coin. Or
absolutely.
you play the simple game, which sounds like what you're doing too, and just Bitcoin or ETH or something else. It's running several 100%, but over the course of years. So patience, or
patience, and I think there's no shame in. I think a lot of people, like, they don't want to play TRX because they think it's stupid, but like that's a really strong coin, right?
it has been,
right. Like,
Yep.
and I mean, say what you want about Justin Sun, but he's kicking butt with that thing. So
at the end of the day, that's the thing though. Everyone is they got an opinion on all these fundamentals. It's just like
yeah,
the same thing. I see all your trading books in the background there. Money
thank you.
doesn't care what your views
Yeah.
are. It's just money in the bank account.
Yeah, the market's so much smarter than me. Like, I don't even try to figure this stuff out. Like, I just want to know, if the market likes it, I like it. Market likes BNB, and I've been watching that, Jason, and it's almost like a proxy for altcoins and for a little bit more risk exposure. And seeing it trending up has given me a lot of hope and a lot of confidence in the market. And I like
you
seeing
think
BNB. I think we're definitely going to see some sort of an altcoin season. And that started a little while ago when, for me, it looked like Ethereum was turning around versus Bitcoin. But just kind of gauging the health and strength of the market. Like, when BNB does well, in my view, that means like there's retail money and there's volatility, there's action out there. So
would you say it's similar to if Coinbase does well? If you're watching the stock of coin.
Sure. I think that's definitely part of it, for sure. But then you've got more having to do with earnings expectations and all this other stuff. It's because so coin was like a way for people to get access to crypto, like the way miners were too. And now it's just there's so many different ways for Main Street to get access to crypto.
Yeah.
So I think that takes away a little bit of the early interest in Coinbase, but that's still doing quite well, for sure. Do you play like a lot of like big board crypto stuff too, or like how do you approach that?
My focus is mostly just BTC, ETH, and then an altcoin here or there. Maybe if something strong like Sui was, XRP. That's it. I went down that path again of trying to play all these different alts,
Yeah.
and my attention was just everywhere. And I realized I'm better off just focusing my attention, as opposed to, as what I've said to a lot of the members, like having monkey brain, because it's so easy with the altcoins. Oh, this is the next thing popping off, and that's the next thing.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you've missed all of them, made nothing. And like, what was the point? Wasted life.
I love it. I mean, it sounds like you really you've got a good perspective on this, because you want to have a smaller watch list, right? It's very easy to think,
Totally.
if I just play this next coin someone mentions, that's going to be the one,
That sets me
to be the
free.
solution. Yeah, exactly. To set
Exactly.
me
Everyone's
free.
trying to be free of their job, free of this. And it's like, just sort out that stage of your life. Don't treat trading as it's going to save you from whatever it is.
Right.
That's like you see it. You've been in the game for so many years. It's the same thing every time. This is, maybe you even, and I even came into it looking at like, oh, this might actually save me from this job, until you realize it's another job if you treat it like that. So you got to find something that is meaningful in it, that that you could keep doing for the rest of your life if you wanted to. Otherwise, it's worse than a job.
It's hard too when no one's really being your boss. It's hard to hold yourself accountable, right?
Yep. Like these conversations, like you've been in it for so long, I've been in it for many years trading. It always spins into psychology. Whereas, I've watched a lot of these interviews with different people or whatever, and everyone's sort of wanting this extra answer as to what's going to go next and how they can get the cheat code. And it's it sucks sometimes, because you're like, damn it, there's no damn cheat code. And you see it on Twitter all the time. Yeah, this guy did 10x, and I'll show you how to get another 100x altcoin, and I'll show you how to do this, and just subscribe to my Telegram group, and I'll show you how it's done. It's like, yeah, no.
It's human nature to want to know that it's going to be easy, but it's like you have to know how bad it's going to be and how hard, but you're going to get out what you put into it. And I think that's a lesson people have to learn. What is it you do? So you talk about your members, right, in a group. What is it you're doing like on YouTube? You want to tell us a little bit about like what that's about?
Yeah, so I've got the YouTube channel X. That's essentially daily content looking at the 18-year cycle, how it relates to everything. But most people know me for, say, Bitcoin and crypto. But
Yeah.
I have a big focus on the cycles because of how that's. I just think it's so interesting how it plays out so often. And since I've been following it, it's basically been working. So that's what I do on on YouTube and X, is follow the cycles, talk about my daily analysis. And then with the members, it's just teaching them all the steps. Our main focus with analysis is with Gann analysis, Wyckoff, and Elliott wave. And so it's just teaching those steps and trading, and then structuring your investment plans that suit your lifestyle and that sort of thing. So getting back more of your time and looking at it from a longer term perspective, because that's the strategy, that's the focus that I use with my trading and investing. My brother, who works with me in the business, has been trading similar time frame, and he does a lot more short term. So we bounce off each other quite well there.
Okay. Well, was it Michael? Is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw the same last name. I was like, wait a minute, I'm seeing double here, right?
No, he's my younger brother.
Okay, that's pretty cool. You guys are working together, or at least kind of doing the same stuff.
Yeah. No, the Investor Accelerator is our business together, and then we focus on our own portfolios. We don't have a combined portfolio. I have mine, he has his, and then we just share information with each other. And is this working? Is that working? What are you seeing next? And how does this work?
Yeah. It seems pretty smart, rather than you having like a shared pool of money. Maybe that would make it more difficult, right, for you guys to.
We tried it once, but that was for short-term trading in the futures market.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't my style. Michael can do it, but for me, it was, you're trading off the US times, especially in Australia, basically up at 10, 11 every night, having to make those decisions. And then again in the morning, because the US market closes here about 7 a.m. So you've got that time. But if you need to get in when the market's opening for some particular trade, then it's a bit rough as a lifestyle. Some people do it. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's tough. I even like people even living on like West Coast US. I thought they had it bad, waking up at like 4 early, but yeah, wow. So you mentioned those styles, Wyckoff and cycle analysis and Gann. I'm actually not familiar with Gann. What is like, give me like just a basic overview
Yeah.
of how that works.
Yeah. He's well known for a lot of things, but the main thing would be his swing chart, because that identifies the trend, and then you can get so far into it. But just keeping it high level, he came up with a particular swing chart. He was interviewed by Wyckoff in the early 1900s for his style. So he was I think he was like the top trader of all time. Not that he was trying to go after that title, but that's from people that were interviewing him throughout those years. Started trading, I think it was early 1900s. He died in 1955, wrote many, many books. It got a lot into, in his older years, got into a bit more philosophy and numbers, numerology, and just seeing how the world worked. So you're just looking at the trading side. You start there, swing charts, fib extensions and retracements, 50% levels. And from there you build in terms of, you go down the rabbit hole essentially.
Yeah. So, but like, what's the Gann fan? Like, I've heard the Gann fan, right? And so I understand, fib extensions and swing lows and swing highs. Like, how much more is it than that? Essentially, using the like Gann fan.
The fan is looking at angles and how markets respond to different angles, which are essentially all mathematical points. And that was what Gann said. There's nothing new under the sun apart from, well, there's nothing new under the sun, he said. And then everything is but a mathematical force.
And so the angles are those representing like momentum, like steeper angles and drop offs, like reversing momentum type of thing, or
they kind of act like magnets to them. So the market, if it breaks out of one, there's a higher chance it's going to go to the next angle. And they work off particular fractions that Gann used. They're not the same as fibs, but very close to the similar numbers. So he would break down 100, and you looked at 50, 50%, 75 and 25. So you broke it into quarters, then
Mhm.
eighths, then 16ths and 32s. Like you can go down that far, but the
Sure.
biggest ones that the the most used ones and the most important are your halfway points, 50%.
Mhm.
So that's the one side. And then he also did a lot on time. So he looked at the time axis, the bottom
Mm.
axis, and
Mhm.
broke that down as well. So he was able to time markets and see when changes in trend were going to occur.
Okay. So, combining all that, right? And a lot of the methodology it sounds like you're using and you talking about how your brother's more short-term trading, you're looking at, swing trading, you're looking at weekly charts, you're looking at kind of the big picture. Um, like, so is Bitcoin doing a 60-day cycle or what is it? Where is it now in this kind of cycle? Give us a kind of just a basic view of that.
I'm looking at it in. I'll just go like super long term with something like the 4-year cycle that everyone knows of. But
Yeah.
I think most people look at 4-year cycles in terms of the halving. Would you say that's
Yeah.
true?
That's
Yeah,
my understanding. Yeah.
but I'm looking at it like a bit more of a low to a low point, so that you've got some reference areas as opposed to
Mhm.
just the halving. And
Okay.
so if you're longer term, um, 4 years, right? If you're up for longer than 2 years, then you're in a stronger market. So there's probably a bit further to go. So we've continued to put in what they say is right translated cycles, because if you
Right.
break it down
This
halfway,
happens later, right? Left translated means earlier than expected.
yes, earlier, which means you're going to go in for a longer bear market.
I see. So
So I
so
would
less
say
translated would mean like it's underperformed what it should have
yes.
done. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily what it should have done, you know what you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just
Sure,
that's
sure.
what it is right now. It's people's expectations was it was gonna go further. I still think we might see one of those next cycle. So everyone's expectation is that we'll get a dump and then it will come back to bounce to a new all-time high.
Yeah.
At this stage, I'm still unsure, but I'll be leaning towards maybe it's gonna be a left translated cycle in the next 4-year cycle. And in terms of timeframes, which is something else that we do
Mhm.
when studying GAN with the analysis, is
Yeah.
just looking at repeating timeframes and using cyclical numbers that show up, and yearly anniversaries, 5-year anniversaries, 10-year anniversaries works a lot better with a lot of history.
Mm.
But as an example, this time around, Bitcoin is following pretty well on a 5 and a 10-year cycle, just in terms of the pattern of the market, where you get the pullbacks and the moves higher.
I'm looking as you're talking, I'm kind of looking at the other screen. I'm trying to, spot out
Yeah.
5 and 10-year
So
this
the
is so
5-year was back at
interesting.
COVID 2020, and you can get the fractal, and you do
Yeah.
that, chuck it on the
Okay.
chart, and then you're sort of watching it in terms of a pattern, not the same percentages,
Sure.
but in terms of a pattern. Should we see highs here or lows next? Um, it doesn't. It's not an exact science, but you're just looking for those similar structures that come about.
What do you make of the fact that we broke below the prior all-time high for the first time, right? In that move down in 21 and 22. Like, what do you make of, if anything, of the fact that in 2022 we broke below the 2017 all-time high, and that was the first time that it ever happened? Does that mean anything to you? I mean, it's interesting to me. I'm just curious.
Yeah, uh, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. At the
Yeah.
time, I thought it was pretty significant. The only thing that it seems like it's doing is that it says diminishing returns.
Yeah. Exactly. A little bit. Yeah.
Like it's just not pumping as hard as it used to. But
Yeah.
that's pretty straightforward. There's not You need a ton more money for it to get there. But
Yeah.
apart from that, I don't think it matters that much. Like
No.
it's just price. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that and also we spent the most time below the 200 weekly moving average there. Just that it's a little bit less volatility now that it's a little bit more
Mm,
mainstream, a little bit less volatility, a little bit more of a slower grind up at a slightly lower angle, just very generally speaking. And that's just kind of my posture on it. And it's been acting that way at least, since 2023, end of 2023. There's just a slow grind and these shallow retracements. And it'd be nice to kind of just chill like this for a while. Have, these very minor dip backs and plenty of room for Ethereum to do its thing, plenty of room for Sol. You talked about that, BNB, these other ones. That'd be almost like a Goldilocks type of market for me. And I'd like to see it, continue for a while.
Especially, yeah, like you said, if it can hold in a trading range, not break structure, then the longer it grinds out, the better it is for the bull market.
Interesting. I had a couple notes, things I wanted to ask you about, and we can wrap it up here pretty soon. This has been interesting because I don't use like GAN fans and stuff. I saw you, Jason. Yeah.
I don't use GAN fans either. Like there's so
Okay.
many different things that GAN came up with. I use mostly the extensions and then his rules for using those extensions and swing charts. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go look. I'm gonna have to study that stuff because, like, I love all this little weird academic stuff. And when I love talking to other smart people, when I hear it, I was like, oh, I want to learn that. I want to see what he's talking about.
He's
but I
got
want to
so
ask
many
you.
cool little things. Sorry, go
He
on.
does. No, you. Well, go ahead. He's got so many cool things. So what? Like, give us some more. Give us a few more.
Time counts are an interesting one. Something that we've used regularly is he had a 7 to 10 day rule. So when markets are in a strong trending market, strong trending, you need that in the backdrop. Can't just be any time, but 7 to 10 days in the same direction. And it's the, if you use a candle or bar, whatever it is, lower, each day has to have in the case of an uptrend, a higher low. At least. So not to break the previous day's low. And then the highs can go higher, or it can be what we call an inside day, like a lower high, higher low. But once you get that, there's 7 to 10 days, and then obviously reverse it for the opposite. Generally, you'll see at least a pause, sometimes a correction from that point. So it's got something to do with human psychology where they can let this market run 7 to 10 days. It's sort of like the extreme of a move.
I see.
And then you'll see it at least stop. And
there's a lot of stuff like
that. Last few days.
There's a lot of stuff like that, like exhaustion gaps. There's just a lot of different techniques that kind of seek to take advantage of that overextension. You mentioned bar. So I saw you. I was going to ask. I saw a bar chart, and then I saw a Japanese candlestick chart from you, like within like a couple hours apart. I thought that was really interesting.
I use bars for my analysis. The candles I post because that's what people are used to seeing. So I'll do my analysis with the bars, and then I'll just click the candles and then give them the candle chart.
Are you doing green and red on the bar? Are you doing green and red or just black? Like on the bar chart? Some people are so old school they use just a black and white bar chart.
Right. Yeah, if I'm focused mostly on explaining time, then there's no point in a green or a red. It's just extra noise.
Interesting. Yeah. This is so cool. This is so cool because I love the fact that there's so many ways to trade. There's so many ways to analyze it. Yeah, it leaves a lot of room for personality, I think, right?
Yeah, it's one way to look at it.
Yeah, well, it is. I think it is. Night mode, dark mode, bar chart, candlestick, Heikinashi, Gann fan, like, whatever. But also,
what is your strategy? Like, what's your take? Because I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I do a combination of classical charting and Japanese candlestick theory. It's heavily leaning upon horizontal levels, basically supply and demand, and taking advantage of moves against the trend. So I look to find an uptrend, price above a rising 200, take advantage of a dip in the uptrend, or if I'm shorting, I want to take advantage of a rip in a downtrend. And I identify the trend using classical charting, and I use a lot of like 4-hour trading with Japanese candlesticks, using the candle body progression for the momentum in the market, and using Bollinger Bands with Japanese candlesticks. So it kind of is like a combination of candlestick theory and classical charting with a little bit of sentiment analysis too. Like I definitely get some good sentiment information from Twitter. We talked about doing live streams. And I feel like I get good sentiment from my live streams too. Like, do you get that as well when you stream?
Yeah, we've set it to our members as well. When we do a live stream every week, when the market's volatile and it's moving, whether it's down or up, doesn't matter as long as there's volatility, you'll see a lot more people on. So that the sentiment is clearly there. When it's just tracking sideways, not interesting for many, the views are just down. It just every time. And like, it's, for example, we go back to 2022, 2023, late 22, early 23. Volatility was super low. Interest was
Yeah.
down. Views were down. Everything was down. Yet it was the accumulation. And so you can see from, say, Wyckoff analysis, accumulation generally happens in the quiet times.
Yeah.
Distribution generally happens in the volatile times.
People sell loudly and quietly accumulate, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then they're selling to others who are in late. So
Right. Interesting. All right, this has been awesome, man. I'm really glad you took some time to talk with my audience and share with us kind of your style, your methodology. You definitely gave me some things I want to go look up and study a little bit, because I try to be nerdy about the charting, and when I hear stuff I don't know, I think it's really interesting.
likewise, thanks for having us on, and hopefully people got something from it.
Yeah, where do we? So I'm gonna have all your links, but what should they know about you if they want to learn more about you? You said just X and YouTube?
Yeah, we got a free reports that we put out every Tuesday,
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday. Economic, Bitcoin, altcoins. So yeah, if they just want to get a bit more in contact there, check out those links too on the website tiacrypto.com.
You doing
TIA,
surfing
I should say.
surfing channel too? YouTube surfing channel, or is that just for
No, that
fun?
would be terrible. That would just be a full of kook bloopers.
I've been surfing before, and I couldn't believe how much work it was just to get out to like catch the wave. Like you just paddling forever before you even start, right? Is that what's
It
the
can
deal
be,
with
yeah.
that? Yeah.
I the way I see it is you have to earn your place
Okay.
in the set. Like if you're not capable of paddling out there to
Yeah.
that particular set, you're not worthy of getting on that wave. And it's mostly from a safety point of view,
Okay.
because otherwise you could get into a bit of danger. So yeah, over the years I've just sort of built up. I'm still beginner intermediate,
Okay.
and there's a lot of stuff I won't even look at. Like it's just not for me.
You got
Too
to
much
pick your
water.
wave.
Too much,
You got to pick your
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Just like you got to pick your trade, right? You got to pick your wave.
Pick your trade, pick your market. Some markets work, some don't for you, because they have different personalities. So every wave is like a different personality. Some are flatter, mushier, some are, steep and fast. It's just, yeah, you got to pick the style.
I love it. All right, brother. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Likewise, Cheds.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
All right, folks. How's everybody doing? I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. That was a great interview with Mr. Jason Pizzino, seasoned investor and trader, content creator. Here's his X Twitter page. Here's his YouTube page. Here is his link tree. I am, of course, Big Ched. You find me on Twitter. I am a founding analyst at Bitcoin Live, and this is going into the long form interview series on my YouTube at Ched's Trading. Folks, while you're here, just want to remind you I have a brand new playlist, the Trading Encyclopedia, 3 minutes a day to learn professional technical analysis. Check that out. If you're looking for a subject and you don't see it, let me know and I'll record the video for you. But once again, a warm thank you to Mr. Pizzino. That was a great time. I know I learned a lot, and hopefully you folks did too. And I'm going to keep bringing on these really smart people so we can have these conversations. So, folks, thank you, Mr. Jason, and thank you to everybody else. And I will talk to you soon. Big Cheds out.